This episode of Capes and Lunatics is brought to you by Tweaked Audio. To get awesome headphones, go to tweakedaudio.com and use the coupon code Southgate to get 30% off, free shipping, and a lifetime warranty. Or you can get there through the link on our website, southgatemediagroup.com.
Yeah, surf the beat cause the bass is bubbling. Gotta get it in before it comes tumbling down. There's only so much time to find this kind of rhyme to express my mind.
Sweet Christmas time, turkeys, and welcome to the CageCast. I'm your host, Charlie, the Professor Esser. With me, as always, is my skinny rich friend.
It's Mozz.
Hey, Mozz, welcome back to the CageCast. Welcome back into the cage. I forgot to use our catchphrase last week, but now I have remembered what it was because I looked it up. Anyway, welcome back to the cage, everyone. Tonight's episode is Straighten It Out. Season 2, Episode 2. Luke tests out his abilities on the ball field. Misty ruffles feathers at the precinct, and Mariah plans a reunion to boost her image. Director is Stephen Green. Chio Hodari Coker keeps on getting that created by credit. Let's see who else we got here. Akilah Cooper. Oh, sorry. Second, wrong button. Wrong button again. Got all the wrong buttons here. Akilah Cooper did something. Let's see what she did. Akilah Cooper was our writer on this episode. She got the credit. Okay, so let's talk tonight's episode. Straighten it out. So in this situation, we have, of course, Arturo has been arrested. And he is not being a cooperative witness.
Why would he?
And Misty gets it in her head that she's going to be the one to break him. You know, and that ends poorly, as you might imagine, because, of course, Mariah's lawyer comes in and basically, you know, breaks him out, lets him know that he's free to go, because he's a lawyer, and, you know, Luke Cage is not a duly appointed officer of the law. He does not get to just bring people in and say he found evidence on them. That's not how this whole thing works.
No.
That's not how any of this works. And we also have a neat moment in here with Claire, which I actually believe might take place before this, which is her... First, we get the explanation that the abalone shells have strengthened since they did the second bath. At least that's our theory. Which is how he was able to survive the Judas bullet.
Right.
And we are essentially getting this idea here that, you know, he has been made stronger. He is now much, much more bulletproof than he ever was. And that added level of bulletproofness, I think, is feeding into his hubris, which we will see later as he goes to interact with Cockroach.
Right.
Now, at this moment, Arturo has been bounced. Misty is being reprimanded about it because she is not accepting that, you know, she's being given limitations, and, you know, she wants her adrenaline. You know, much like Patsy, she wants to be a superhero.
Right. She's got the same problem Trish Walker has.
Exactly. Well, you know, and not for nothing, I do wonder how many people, if you lived in a world where superheroes were a thing, how many people would not be just like that, you know?
Yeah.
In fact, we got this reference in The Last Jessica Jones about people that are essentially going out to back alley doctors to try and find ways to become superhuman.
Right.
And speaking of becoming superhuman, there is a moment in this episode where we do see Bushmaster speaking with his uncle. And we find out that he is essentially juicing with like some zombie medication, you know? That this is all, that he is made as hard as a rock because he is taking something, I believe they mentioned it as Odea.
Odea or something like
yes,
that. But
something along those lines later when we get to, as luck would have it, Tilda Dillard's apothecary.
this seemed a little strange to me. It's like, what is stopping people from being on this all the time? Like, what, if the ingredients are that readily available at any random, specialty apothecary, why aren't more people on it, Yeah,
well, the uncle does make the point that it is actually killing him.
Mm.
That it's like, you get that, it is the classic idea is you get this extra boost, but it takes time away from the end, they say like a cigarette takes like 3 minutes off your life. It's like, this is like 1,000 cigarettes,
Right. No, and he seems completely fine with the exchange rate.
Well, yeah.
He almost seems like he's on a suicide mission to gain something back that's bigger than material things. Like, he keeps saying, Harlem is my birthright. They're saying Luke Cage's name. I can't have that. Like, what is his motivation? What does he think Harlem represents? Or what's the story? I'm very interested.
Well, I mean, there is some reference to it, I believe, in this one where he does, because he's basically saying to his uncle about the restaurant, which is named for his mother, that he has, that this is, that, his uncle knows that something was taken from them, specifically by the Stokes. The Stokes took something from Bushmaster's family that is their rightful inheritance. And so this is very much the idea of the Bushmaster seeking his vengeance.
Yeah, I bet his family probably ran crime before the Stokes ran them out and took over.
Well, I mean, it's something. It's something, right. And we will get more of that as it goes. But the point is that he is in a place of absolute desire for vengeance.
Right.
And he is not thinking clearly. And this, I think, is one of these qualities that I think, there was something that, when everything went crazy, like the reason Hernan loves Mariah is because when things were going crazy, when Cottonmouth and then Diamondback kind of went off on this quest for revenge on Luke Cage, Mariah was the one who kept her head. Mariah was the one who could see the bigger picture. And that's what Hernan loves. And at the same time, Hernan, who has always been the guy who could keep his head, is losing it over ridiculous things.
I wonder.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's if it's coming from a subconscious place, I think he's trying to sabotage his life being changed. So he's trying to sabotage what Mariah is trying to do because deep down inside, he doesn't want to go on the straight and narrow. He loves his underbelly of life.
Yeah, I mean that's one theory. I mean, and it's certainly very possible that is in fact the case that they.
What's the alternative though? That he's that in love with Mariah?
Yeah, I think that is the alternative, is that he does not, because, and for what it's worth, I mean, when someone is insulting Mariah, they are in essence insulting Hernan,
Right.
And we see this in the last episode when the waiter who just made the passing mistake about calling Mariah his aunt gets, beat up by Hernan and Comanche.
Yeah.
That they just are not, he is not going to tolerate anyone saying anything to disrespect his woman, because if you're disrespecting his woman, you are also at its core disrespecting him.
Right.
And he is not willing or able to accept that.
But yeah, he would not have been moved by that last season.
No, he would not have been. But then again, he wasn't in love. And the things a man will do for love, or a woman will do for love, can often be quite horrific,
Yes, indeed.
And I think that is what we're seeing with Shades and Mariah.
See, in my head, I'm still clinging to the hope that this is all subconsciously, that he's above it all.
I mean, entirely possible. Like I said, I don't think that is outside of the realm of possibility. We're just going to have to see how it plays out.
That's what I'll be rooting for.
I mean, I think on a very real level, excuse me, it's a little late, folks, I'm sorry. On a very real level, for a guy like Hernan, it isn't so much that they want to sabotage this life, is that they don't trust themselves to enjoy it. That, essentially, when he's going through this, there's a real part of him that does want that American dream, as it were. He does want to, be at peace and not have to run and not be a criminal. He wants that American dream. But at the same time, he also wants to be feared and respected and to be a powerful person. And again, to tie it all back to Patsy Walker, I think that there is a quality to it that is, this idea of I need to be powerful. That all the power I do have and all the power that I could have through this legitimate system is not as attractive as just being powerful in that illegitimate system.
Right.
Being rich is great. Being feared is better. And of course, rich people can be feared too, but the level of fear that you get from a gangster is very different than you get from the guy who's just going to, ruin your credit rating.
Right, and you have a lot less to lose.
Exactly. Yeah, and so I think that it is an inherent conflict with Hernan. That he doesn't. It's not so much that he wants to reject the idea of idealized domesticity, so much as that he can't help but also want to be the guy that can shoot a man in the head.
Right. I think that's a part of himself that he loves very much, and I don't think he's willing to give that up yet, whether or not he realizes it or not. I think that's the side that's winning. And in subtle moments like this, where that energy is released in sort of ways where he is no longer in control, I think that's where it's coming from.
Absolutely. And of course, we get this scene after Arturo has been bounced. Mm-hmm. After he has gotten to walk away, he is he is approached by Shades, and you get this whole series of accusations. He does accuse Hernan of selling him a dud Judas bullet, but of course it wasn't. And then he basically says that they will not get their money until he walks away free and clear. And that is fair enough. But at the same time, this puts Hernan in a very difficult spot, because as he can say, well, he said maybe he'll talk to Misty Knight, tell him where he got the Judas bullets, that maybe he's going to snitch on them. Because for what it's worth, I think that from the criminal world's perspective, Harnan and Mariah are getting out of the business.
Right.
So the actual threat they can pose to you is suddenly dropping off dramatically. And your ability to demand top dollar often does dwell on your ability to be a threat to someone
Right.
after the fact. And the person who wants to wash their hands will never be as threatening as the person who is happy to have the blood underneath their fingernails.
Right.
Anyway, we also get a neat scene in this episode where they basically decide they have to test out the limits of Luke Cage's strength. And
Which is such a silly thing to do, televised or recorded. Like, why would you want a bad guy to have like tape on you on what your abilities are so that they can plan to hurt you? Like, it seems like such a silly thing to do.
One quality is, again, hubris.
Mm-hmm.
As we've said, there's this Harlem's Heroes app, which I wonder if that's actually going to have any play out later in the storyline, where we find out that the Harlem's Heroes app is part of some larger conspiracy. But you never know. It's very hard to say. But, people are showing up wherever Luke Cage, because once someone sees them, they show up. And for what it's worth, I'm sure that the Harlem Jets could use the publicity. So once Luke Cage's hand coming down, they might have called the reporters as well. It's a real chicken and the egg conundrum there.
Right.
Now, when we get to the actual work that Luke does, we show that he is faster than Usain Bolt. He can jump 11 feet farther than the current world record, which apparently is 13 meters. And, he is incredibly strong, as we knew, because he can lift up a car tire and toss it like a Frisbee. Well, not a car tire, but like one of those big truck tires that you use for that CrossFit stuff. And
a 400-pound tire.
Yes, a 400-pound tire, and he tosses it around like it was much less so.
Like he was playing cornhole.
Yes, he is approached by a agent or scout for Nike, which is, I guess, makes sense when you think about it, but it's an odd job because he's scouting prospective talent to be an endorser for Nike.
Well, I think maybe he was just there to see the Harlem Jets and see if there was anybody worth keeping an eye on.
Well, no, obviously, yes. That's what it is. But it's just the idea that's a business model. And what's actually interesting is because that actually suggests, in its own way, a hint of the basic corruption of the overall system. Because, of course, if this is a minor league team and the Nike scouts are there, they're not going to put any of these guys in the shoe today. But it could influence who they become and how they play, and how much we can pay them if we lock them down early on. So it's an interesting theory.
Yeah.
But so we do see him showing his strength, and of course, mooning to the camera, really putting it all out there so everyone knows how great he is, And, that is, of course, hubris, which we've already established. But it's interesting to see how that affects people seeing it, and when we see the two children playing as both of Luke Cage, and,
Right.
no, I'm Luke Cage, no, I'm Luke Cage, pew, 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 laser beams. And then you have Bushmaster walk by them and essentially give a moment to deride Luke Cage to these small children. Which is great for a story arc, but, not really good for what a person might have actually done in that situation.
Right.
We have learned in this episode that Mariah Hillard's daughter, who is an MD, has also studied herbalism and is quite an advanced herbal medicine maker. And before people start poo-pooing the idea of herbal medicines, let us not forget this is the fictional Marvel Universe, and, magic is real, so reliance on magic herbs might not be as outlandish as you might think. And, let's not forget that it is a heart-shaped herb that gives the Black Panther all of his powers. So
That's the first thing I thought of.
yes. And of course, Mariah and Tilda have a very strained relationship, which they're trying to work through. And, at the end, I think that there is a bit where Tilda has accepted that she is going to work with Mariah, that she isn't going to close the door on this family member. Although we do see that, then we see Bushmaster coming in because he needs more ingredients for his potion. And Tilda immediately recognizes what he's trying to do and how dangerous that is. I think that is what it's supposed to be. It's like, it's sort of like, hey, I could put your brain into a Frankenstein's monster, but you're going to be a Frankenstein's monster. It may not be worth the immortality. Okay. Anything we've left out of this episode tonight, Mozz?
I think the other thing that I wanted to get into was what am I searching for? The showdown with Cockroach at the club.
Yes. And yes, Cockroach and the club. And this, again, is this moment of real importance. Because, again, we see, well, the bullets don't pierce his skin. Their effect is very real.
Right. Because it's like, I was like, what does he have right there? And I'm going back and look, it just looks like it's like a 6-barreled shotgun.
Well,
and we remember what just a single shotgun to the face did to him when Jessica Jones shot him. So 6 of them at point blank range. It's got to, and it's cool that it's surprising that he doesn't know his limits to that level, but you know.
But the reality is that he is still operating from what could be called, a narcissistic glow. He is feeling he cannot be hurt because his skin cannot be pierced. And, of course, what happens is he gets blown out of the building by this, either it was some sort of rocket launcher myself, but gets blown out of the building by this gun. He falls, however many stories, smashes the heck out of a car, and now he's got a dislocated shoulder. And that, I think, is indicative of what we're going to be seeing about how, as invulnerable as his body is still essentially, pieced together by spit and chicken wire. And, that may not be the best thing. And, when you need a knee replacement surgery at, 52, having diamond hard skin may not be the most useful quality to have at that moment.
Now, it's the other thing. It's like, okay, so the Nightshade hurts Bushmaster, but Bushmaster's just a human. Now, what if Luke Cage was to take voodoo steroids?
Well, but he's already hopped up on abalone shell.
Right. Now, but imagine that, expanded even further. Like, he might have to, sink to that level or have to make that choice or something at some point.
Yeah,
I would like to
have the power to do the battle. And that is a fair cop. I'm not sure that's what they're going to do. This film might already be a little too busy as it is, but we'll have to see. The
other thing that I thought was important was the very end, where he finally does catch up to Cockroach and really almost loses himself in beating them up, and then notices how scared the family and the boy that he sympathized with, and maybe that was the impetus for his rage against Cockroach.
Yes, and I think that rage is an important point of order in this.
Right.
That he is feeling this anger, and rage is, again, so strongly felt and described by that hubris,
Right.
he feels he can murder this man and get away with it. This man has it coming,
I don't think that's what he's thinking in that moment. I think just the lust of getting your way or getting back at somebody that hurt you, or just he was lost in the fervor, and I think he lost himself. I don't think he ever meant to intend to end this person, or maybe he's breaking and getting to that point. Maybe that's what it's showing. I don't know, but
Yeah.
And then the other thing that I thought was important was, again, here we get Luke Cage's dad giving a beautiful sermon about vengeance.
Oh,
and
yes.
It's a really, really interesting point he makes about, leave vengeance to the Lord. Like, if you exact your vengeance, then you've given away your right to have the universe act on your behalf to bring some vengeance down on this man, which would probably be way worse than what you can do. Let the Lord work.
Yeah, well, that's
that was really cool.
Yes. I mean, honestly, it's a great sermon by James Lucas.
I hope we get one every episode. That's what the pattern I'd like to. I think it's pretty cool that they're doing.
I think that's a strong possibility. I don't know off the top of my head, but I think that, I mean, it seems like it's a great way to as a framing device for this series.
Indeed.
Especially because, there is this faith aspect along with the feelings towards the superhuman community.
Mm.
So, yeah, I mean, I think that's a great aspect of it, and I hope it continues strongly.
Yeah.
Oh, I think that pretty much is everything this episode. I mean, I really like this series a lot. I really feel that this is the kind of thing that you can just sit and watch pretty much all night long.
Yeah.
If you have the free time to do so, which, hey, good for me, I'm unemployed. And yeah, so that is fantastic in this, and I can't wait to see what happens next episode, because I really, even though I'm kind of watching ahead, I'm kind of half watching, and so I don't know really. I like tune back in at the episode and I go, whoa, how did we get to this point? So I can't wait to see how we got to that point.
Right on.
But it is all pretty amazing. Mozz, what are your final thoughts on tonight's episode?
I'm super excited. It's getting better and better, and I'm digging the music too.
Mm-hmm.
They're keeping it in track with how fun and interesting it was last season.
Yes, I do have to say I kind of felt like the musical interlude in the last section kind of ran a bit long.
Oh, you thought so?
I thought it kind of ran a bit long. That it almost overpowered some of the plot that was happening at the same time. So that was kind of my feeling. I mean, I enjoyed the music, don't get me wrong, but I felt that it served much more as a distraction to the story than actually.
Yeah, that's interesting, because I was like, I kept thinking to myself, it's like, are they obligated to do things like this now, or do they have to expand a certain amount of resources to this because that's the expectations they built, and how much of it is an honest storytelling device, or how much of it is kitsch, But I didn't mind it, because it looked a lot like, the guy was trying to be Jimi Hendrix, and I dug it. The guitar was pretty cool.
And for what it's worth, Chidari Hoker has made a point that he does see this series as requiring that visual quality.
I'm not mad.
Yes. And that, I'm sorry, not the visual quality, but that auditory quality, that he does...
But that's stylized.
Feel strongly about the music. Yeah, the music is essential to Luke Cage. It's how you know you're watching a Luke Cage production, is that there is this ongoing musical interlude, and that is very important to the overall story. Okay, Mozz, if people would like to reach out and touch you in a good way, how can they do so?
Or in a bad way. They can reach me on Facebook, or email me at mozzmanzor@gmail.com. That's MOZZMANZOOR.
And, of course, you can always write to me in that old-fashioned email way the way our Mozz and Pods once did, at superconnectivityblog@gmail.com. That's superconnectivityblog, all one word, @gmail.com. And, of course, follow me on Twitter as I live tweet Cloak and Dagger whenever I can, because it's a great show. At Charlie Esser, that's CharlieEsser. Look for the two E's in the middle for quality.
For quality. Bing!
And ladies and gentlemen, as you look for those two E's in the middle for quality, do not be afraid to step into the cage once again as we give you another episode of the CageCast. Sweet Christmas! Good night.